Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. I'm Ross Benjamin of rbwins.com, and like every Monday, I'm joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com, one of the finest handicappers in the country. Doug, how was your weekend, my friend?
Everything was good from a standpoint of social activity. The selections were a little bit up and down, so that was, but that you're going to get that. But by and large, happy how everything is going, and just in a general sense. So hey, just trying to make it happen. How about yourself, Ross?
Well, the weather's pretty good here, Doug.
Is that
I got to
right?
tell you, you always bring up the weather, and this is one of those days you didn't. But so I'm going to. It's been in the 70s here, in the 60s here. It gets cold at night. But still, there you see the glimmer of hope out the window that the weather's starting to turn here in the Northeast, and that's always a welcome sight for many of us here in this part of the country. Anyway, Doug, the first 2 days in the NBA playoffs, and by the way, folks, this is our Major League Baseball edition. We will be giving you 2 free MLB picks for Tuesday, April the 19th, but we're going to touch upon the NBA a little bit and some MLB betting. Take a look at some MLB topics, I should say. So let's start with the NBA, Doug. What we saw in the first 2 days, I could tell you this. I'm really impressed with Golden State right now because they have all their parts back. And boy, oh boy, Klay Thompson is starting to come around. And I think they're going to be a serious threat in the West. And if they get by the West, who knows? They could win it all. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on what you saw so far in the first 2 days of the NBA playoffs?
Yeah, speaking of Golden State, I mean, the one thing that they have that nobody, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but almost nobody has, is they have so many guys who can put the ball in the basket, and they can do it from literally any level, so that's their biggest strength. I'm not sure that Denver is going to be a real test for them from that standpoint. Denver's just defensively, they just don't guard well enough, certainly on a consistent basis. And if they had their other 2 starters, Porter Jr. and Murray, that could be a big help, but they don't. So it doesn't matter. So I agree with you. I like what I see from them, and I like their ability to put the ball in the basket. Their defense is solid. It's it's among the best in the NBA. Wasn't quite as good in the second half of the season, but I think it's going to get better now, particularly with Draymond Green back, because if there's a glue guy of the year in the NFL, it's him. Okay.
NBA, yes.
No question. So that's the big thing. So that's what I got going. Apologize for the dog if you can hear it, but nothing I can do about that right at the moment. So anyways, so that was one thing that impressed me. Minnesota taking out Memphis hard. Yeah. I mean, that was a start to finish game.
How about Anthony Edwards? What a performance.
Oh my goodness, 20 years old. I'm glad Tom Crean got fired at Georgia, right? I mean, if you have him, and it was I forget his backcourt mate, but his name, but you had those 2 guys, and you couldn't win more than half your games. Oh my goodness, that's pretty lousy coaching. But it's a very confident team. They do a lot of things well, and if anything, Memphis, granted they don't have a ton of playoff experience, but they certainly in the first game looked like they far less experienced, and let's just call it almost nervous team by comparison.
Yeah, I mean, they're the number 2 seed in the West, right? So the expectations are extremely high, and that's sometimes tough for young teams to cope with. Because so much is expected of them. Not a lot expected from Minnesota. Nobody thought they would be a playoff team this year. Nobody thought they would be in the position they are. And then they come out, Karl Anthony Towns, after having a terrible game in the play-in round, bounced back with a huge performance as well. So they got some answers offensively. I'm not sure they're going to go get to a deep run in the NBA playoffs. They might not even get by this series, only because they don't play no defense, Doug, and sooner or later, defense travels, like they said, on the road through bad shooting nights. And Minnesota is one of those teams, if they're shooting below 50%, they're not that difficult and out to beat because of their inconsistency on defense, and not even inconsistency, consistently bad. How about I put it that way? So yeah, and Golden State, boy, I'm thinking I might put a futures bet in on them today. I know the odds aren't great, but I really like what I saw from them. And in the Eastern Conference, what a game that Boston and Brooklyn game was, right, Doug? I mean, the way it finished and the patience the Celtics exhibited in the last 10 seconds of that game, where they finally got a shot off with 3 seconds to go, and it was a good one at that. But boy, oh boy, they had like 2 or 3 opportunities to take lower percentage shots, and they didn't, and they passed them up. And to their credit, good for them. They win the game 115-114. I was happy. I had the over in that game. I had the under last night in the Phoenix game as well. So it's been a good NBA run for me so far, Doug. But anyway, Major League Baseball, you had a couple topics you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, well, just among them, these, San Francisco won 107 games, or I think it was 106 or 107 games last year in the regular season, all-time franchise record. And their over-under total to start this year was 86. Yeah. Now, maybe that will turn out to be true, ultimately, but just off the start, I mean, they are playing extremely well. Cleveland's offense scored 44 runs in 4 games before they opened up at home against Frisco, and they scored a total of 4 runs against San Francisco and getting swept. So the Giants, I mean, they still got a lot of pieces, and you can just see it's a confident team that is playing well, that expects to win every time they go out there. Now, like I said, whether this holds up or not, I don't know. But right now, I don't see how you bet against them, on any consistent level from that standpoint. So that's one thing that I noticed. And then also the Dodgers are playing like meeting expectations. They've won 6 in a row. They covered the run line in 6 straight games. I think their smallest margin of victory was 3 runs in that run. And they've outscored in their last 6 games, they've outscored their opponents 40-9. And guess what? Who comes to town this week? The Atlanta Braves, who eliminated them from the playoffs. They get to look at Kenley Jansen in a different uniform while having Freddie Freeman in the white uniform for them. So that'll be a fun series.
Intriguing, right? Intriguing series, to say the least. And San Francisco, boy, oh boy. I think when you look at how many games they won last year, and I hear the term often used when describing their season last year as overachieving. And that sort of goes hand in hand with their win total that was posted before the season began, Doug. But, I don't know. Overachieving to me is not winning 107 games. It's a little more than overachieving. Overachieving to me might be a team that sneaks into the wild card round, winning 92 games after being below 500 last year and nobody expecting anything. But winning 107 games in a division they played, a tough division at that, with San Diego and the Dodgers in it. To me, that's not overachieving. And your point is well taken. I agree, Doug. So we got some free Major League Baseball picks for tomorrow. Let's start with Doug and see what he's got.
Well, I got to turn this around. Hit a little bit of a speed bump here on the show, so time to turn this around, and let's see if I can get one for you and for everybody else in this one. Looking at the Houston Astros now, on Monday they are having their home opener, so they went 5-4 on the road trip and didn't really hit much in this one. So this will be game 2 when they play the Astros, and this pitching matchup is scheduled to be Patrick Sandoval for the Halos and Framber Valdez for the Astros. Houston has already taken 3 out of 4 against Angels. They played in the first series of the year in Anaheim, and they did score some runs in that series. Now, Valdez, I really like him. I'm left-handed, like yours truly, and so I always have an affinity more towards those types of pitchers, I'll be honest. But he's only given up 1 run in his first 10 innings this year. Now, that's really good when you consider the fact in those and not even 10 innings, actually, it's 9 2/3. He's walked 6 batters in that time. So that means he's buckled it down when needed to, from that standpoint. Now against the red and white clad Angels in his career, he has 6-2 straight up, and he has an ERA of 3.51, and in 5 of those 8 starts, he's held the Angels to 1 or fewer runs. Now Patrick Sandoval for the Angels, he's had his problems. Okay. He has a big gulp size 8.56 ERA in 4 starts against Houston. He's 0-3 in this one. Now, Angels will come in feeling good because across the state, they were over in Texas and Arlington, they scored 29 runs and taking 3 or 4 against the Rangers. But winning on the southeast part of Texas, little different story. And the other thing I'm looking at here, having problems, Sandoval himself and the Angels are 4-15 against teams that strand 7 or fewer runs on base. Ross, I'm going to take the Stros minus the 145 on Tuesday night to get the job done. Take game 2 in that series.
So the Houston Astros minus 145 over the LA Angels from Doug Upstone. Yes, I would say the level of competition goes up quite considerably when you compare going to Texas and then having to go to Houston. So in any event, that's Doug's play. And regardless of the last couple of videos, Doug, you've been sensational over the last 9 weeks. And I know you get a lot of compliments on our channel for doing so. Anyway, I'm going to take a look at the team that Doug just mentioned, the San Francisco Giants, as they go to Citi Field to take on the New York Mets. Excellent starting pitching matchup with Logan Webb going to, for the Giants, and Max Scherzer for his new team, the New York Mets. Now, Webb in 2 starts this year has been sensational with a 1.29 ERA and an 0.71 WHIP in 14 innings pitched. So talk about pitchers. We've been talking too much about starting pitchers that aren't stretched out because of the lack of spring training this year. Webb's not one of them. And boy, oh boy, he's a bulldog, and he did the same kind of thing last year in terms of innings pitched. And you couple that with the fact that San Francisco's bullpen to start the season has a 2.16 ERA and a 1.10 WHIP. So that's getting it done in their bullpen. The Giants, we talked about their record last year and the start they're off to this year. How about this? Against right-handed starting pitchers, since the start of last year, the Giants have gone 86-39. That's incredible. And that includes 6-2 this season. And also since last year, talk about making some money on a road dog. The Giants right now are plus 115 dog in this game. Since last year, as a road money line underdog of plus 100 or greater, the Giants went 25-14. Doug, that's excellent in terms of a money line underdog win percentage. Scherzer's been very good this year in his 2 starts. He's also been real good against San Francisco since 2016. However, I think the difference in this game will come down to the bullpens. I like the Giants bullpen much better than the Mets. As a matter of fact, the Mets have blown 2 of 3 save opportunities thus far this year. It wouldn't shock me if it goes 3 out of 4 with this matchup. And what I think will be a very low scoring game, the total is 6 right now as we speak. I think it'll come down to bullpens in the last couple innings, and I like San Francisco's chances when it comes down to that. I'm going to take the Giants here as a plus 115 money line underdog over the Mets, and Doug Upstone likes the Houston Astros minus 145 over the LA Angels. Those are our 2 free picks for Tuesday, the 19th. And Doug, any comments on my game, or you just want to go into what you got going on this week?
Well, how could I pass up an opportunity to comment, Ross? You know me well enough on that one. No,
welcome.
I mean, Logan Webb's the real deal. I mean, he started to prove that last year. He's, that his curveball and his slider are just they're just outstanding, and that ball, I've used the expression before, especially that's the slider. It's like trying to hit a bowling ball. Okay. It's like the bat almost stops when it hits it. So that it doesn't get a lot of balls out of the infield from that standpoint, or a lot of lazy fly balls. So he's really tough. Now, there's nothing you can say against Scherzer. I mean, the guy's a Hall of Fame pitcher from that standpoint. But I mean, the Mets, like you said, I forget what game it was earlier that I saw last week, and it was like I saw the Mets both. Oh, they played Philadelphia. It was on the FS1 game. They lost. They had a 4-0 lead, and they lost 5-4, giving up 5 runs in the bottom of the eighth inning. It was like, here we go again. Okay, just like last year. I mean, look at exactly the same situation. Now, they've played well, to start the season. But in terms of value, I agree. I think Frisco's the play here, Ross.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because brilliant minds often think alike. And this is one of those situations, folks. So, Doug, what do you got going on in terms of any kind of hot streaks and what you may have coming up this week at DocSports.com?
Sure. Now, in baseball, I'm coming off a winning week, so that was good over the last 7 days. Wasn't a big winning week, but you know what? In April, I'm always happy to have any winning week, because I think April and September are the 2 toughest months in order to handicap baseball. So from that standpoint, happy. I hit 2 of my first 2 best bets. Hit the first 2, lost 1 on Sunday, but hit the first 2, and had a nice parlay on Saturday with the Phillies as an underdog at Miami, matched with the LA Dodgers. So that had a nice payout too for people that visited Docs and purchased that play. So I'm looking forward to another week, Ross. And like I said, last year I was #1 handicapper at Docs. I've had 3 of my best years in baseball in the last 6 years. So just what am I trying to do? Just to continue make that going along. And like I say, I'm not going to sweat it in April. I can play. I was supposed to say, I can give you some examples of some Aprils in the past, not so good.
Yeah.
But from that standpoint, I'm ready to go from that. And as opposed to you though, Ross, NBA playoffs haven't done quite as well. Long term, the last 3 months I've been great. A little bit of a slow start, but you know what? We're 4 or 5 days in terms of games played. I'm very confident things are going to turn around starting actually on Monday night, and I'm going to be ready to go with that. So excited for all of that action. And here we go. Let's do it again. How about you, Ross?
Oh, I can't complain in the NBA, as I alluded to earlier. Thank you, Doug. I don't know what it is. Since the calendar turned to April, things have really turned dramatically for me. I mean, my NBA picks 12-4. And also 7-2 over the last 9, which that span started with the play-in tournament. And through the weekend, I did awfully well. Yesterday, 2-1, Saturday, 2-0 in the NBA playoffs. All sports since April 1st, 22-13, which is good for 63%. And my Major League Baseball 10-star top plays, nothing new to report. Since me and Doug did our last video, I did not release any 10-star top plays in Major League Baseball over the weekend. So they remained, since the start of last year, a solid 44-23, which is good for 65%. And folks, I don't give out big chalks, so you'll hardly ever see me approach the -140 figure. Usually 135 or less on favorites, and then also underdogs and totals as well is what I concentrate on. You don't need me to be giving you big chalks. You could deplete your bankroll all by yourself by doing so. Anyway, good things going on, Doug. And we're going to be back on Thursday, and we're going to be talking some Major League Baseball again, because I know Doug, he loves talking Major League Baseball. Any final thoughts before we go, buddy?
You nailed it on the head about that. So I'm excited to continue with what we're doing here, Ross. I think got a nice chemistry going here with how we've been doing things. And I think people also like to hear some, just some of the general discussion, that we have from time to time. So along with that, always try to come up with something insightful that would be useful for you as the person that's doing the betting.
Yeah, and like I always say, it's not always about giving you a free pick winner, because at the end of the day, folks, we sell our picks for a living, and we bet on our picks for a living. The free picks, for the most part, there's exceptions to the rule, because we do tape 24 hours in advance in basketball, in Major League Baseball. On occasion, you'll get a free pick that's included in our premium pay selections. However, most times than not, that's not the case. We have been doing awfully well over the last 10 weeks or so now with our free picks on this channel. But folks, we hope that, through our conversations and the topics we cover above and beyond the free picks, you become a smarter sports bettor today than you were yesterday. And if that is occurring, then we're doing our job. And I like to think that's the case. Until the next time, for Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, we like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Good luck and God bless, folks.